Hey, welcome to the Fantasy Football Game Plan. It's week 4, and we are talking prop bets for this week. Who's going to excel? Who's going to flop? What we like. Quentin, have you got anything lined up for us? I know you took a vacation week 3. Not supposed to do that during football season, but you did, and hopefully now you've got some really great ones for us in week 4.
Yeah, I didn't really bet much last week, so excited to return to form. We've had a pretty good start to the year in those first couple weeks. We're off to an 11-5 record, and we're up about 10.5 units on the year. So let's keep it rolling into week 4. Kicking it off, a couple rushing bets. One to start off with Chuba Hubbard, under 56.5 rushing yards against the Patriots. The Carolina rushing attack, they do like leaning on it, but that Patriots defense is an NFL best 39.3% stuff rate. So that means 39% of all opponent rush plays are either going for negative yards or at max 1. So they are meeting people at the line of scrimmage and they are not getting kind of pushed around there. The offensive line for the Panthers is already kind of banged up and dealing with some injuries. Yeah. And this line seems a little fishy too, because in one of the games this year, he had 56 yards on the dot. So, like, putting it at 56.5, or he had 57 on the dot. So now you get to say 2/3 of the time he's hit this line, so you should take the over. It seemed just kind of like a trap, and I like taking the under here against that Patriots defense.
I can't tell you that I think of defense when I think of the Patriots right now, but I think they are giving up more yards in the air than they are on the ground. And the Panthers will probably have to go to the air.
Yeah, we'll see what options they have, especially if McMillan's banged up. But I think Hubbard will probably get the workload. I just don't think it'll be efficient.
All right. That's why you're on the yards and not the carries. What else are we going to bet on?
Next, this is a person that we spent a lot of time talking about on our DFS episode, but hammering home Ashton Jeanty, and that we think he's going to have a good game. I like his over 15.5 longest rush at minus 105. I also like the longest rush in this play because I only need that one play, and I'm betting on the talent. Jeanty was taken top 5 overall for a reason. We know how good he is. And this is a line that the Bears have allowed all 4 main running backs they played, even though they've only had 3 weeks. But Jordan Mason, Gibbs, and Montgomery, and Javonte Williams all hit this over 15.5 longest rush. So they are giving up chunk plays on the ground, and the main problem for the Raiders has been Jeanty getting hit in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. He's averaging a negative yards before contact from that offensive line, but the Bears have the worst defensive line for yards before contact. They're letting the rusher get 2.3 yards already before they're even touched. And I just think that combination of talent and a poor defensive line, you're going to get these chunk plays.
Yeah, we talked a lot about this on our DFS, and I think this is Ashton Jeanty's week. If it isn't, I'm probably going to have to give up on him because I can't keep just saying that. I feel like for 8 weeks, I've just been cheering on Ashton Jeanty, and it has to happen this week.
Yeah, I completely agree. If they can't get these plays against the Bears, then they're not going to be able to get up against anyone.
Yeah. The next one that you've got here on our list, at least it's the under. I actually misread it there. I thought you were going on the over, and I was really concerned. But you've got David Montgomery on the under.
I do. We had a huge game on Monday night against the Ravens, and I think he comes back to earth. Now he's playing the Cleveland Browns front, and that has just been a ferocious front 7 unit against the run. Here are the rushing totals they've allowed and the running backs they've allowed it to. They had Chase Brown, who got 43 yards against them. They had Josh Jacobs, who got 30 yards, and they had Derrick Henry, who got 23 yards. Now you have the secondary running back. Gibbs is the main running back for them, and his line is set above all of these. So I like the under here, and I feel like the Lions, watching any tape, they're going to just be trying to get Gibbs in space and use more of like a screen game in lieu of running between the tackles.
Yeah, I think that's going to have to be their game plan. Cleveland looked really good against the Packers last weekend and stopping them. As long as they're just not on a big, we stop the Packers, no. As long as they're still up. But I think they will be. I like this one.
And speaking of the Packers, we do like that game from a variety of angles. for that Packers-Dallas Sunday night football game. What do you like for that game?
Yeah, so I think this is one of the games that has like all of our favorite bets in it for some reason. Maybe because we didn't get to talk about it in DFS on the Sunday night slate. Anyhow, I like Javonte Williams under 13.5 rushing attempts. It's a minus 106 on DK right now. I think we were all surprised for the first 2 weeks with Javonte Williams leading that Cowboys backfield. He had 15 and 18 rush attempts in the first 2 weeks. And then last week, we saw Miles Sanders return and he had 9 carries. It became a true share, which is kind of what we expected for the whole season, but now it's actually happening. So they've dropped him down to 13.5, but still that might be too high with going against the Packers. They're probably going to need to pass more, and they don't have CD Lamb.
Yeah. And that's a good call to just to the game script, because the first couple of games they were in like a neutral game script. They were in those games, and then when they were getting blown out, Miles Sanders was coming on the field a lot more.
Yeah. So I think we start seeing that share again, and I'm willing to go with Javonte Williams on the under here. What do you have on the Packers side?
I like it. And I really just want to attack this Dallas passing defense. It has looked abysmal. I think the leading passer in the NFL right now is Herbert with 880 yards, but just quarterbacks against Dallas have totaled up 900 yards in these 3 games. I want to take Jordan Love over 232.5 passing yards. I just think this is too low against a really bad defense, and it's a nice bounce back spot going from that Cleveland unit to this Dallas defense. And then to pair with that, so a little parlay here, just a 2-pick parlay, but combining it with Mathew Golden over 2.5 total receptions for that one.
Yeah. This is the perfect game to get Mathew Golden more involved. You've got the weak Cowboys defense, and Golden can, we just need 3 receptions to hit this.
Yeah, and he wasn't that good last week. He did run out of bounds on a play that was kind of ugly, but I think that kind of helps us here with our betting line. We're getting over 2.5. When we combine those together, it's a plus 156. And this feels good, especially with Golden seeing a full-time role. His snap percentage went from the mid-40s to almost about 80% of the snaps he was on the field. So
awesome. This is a great two-leg parlay to get started with. What do we have on touchdown scorers?
So for touchdowns, I kind of wanted to find an underpriced running back. A lot of running backs, their odds are like 150 for your typical ones. And then your true workhorse, you're like Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor will get to around minus 200. Travis Etienne was sitting there at plus 125. And I think it's because there's some ambiguity and just Jacksonville doesn't seem fun against the 49ers, but that 49ers D-line is not healthy. Etienne is the clear number 1 running back right now, so a plus 125 value I think is just too good to pass up on.
Is Etienne the number 1? Or we saw Tootin emerge more in week 2, and then he was back off of him last week, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it still Etienne, or are we going to see more Tootin?
I think for right now it's going to be Etienne. They have enough to try to fix on that offense, and swapping around the running backs just is not going to be one of their priorities. I think they need to figure out that wide receiver core a little bit more before they work on getting their rookie running back involved.
All right. Who else is going to get a touchdown? And when you do these touchdown picks, you're not parlaying these, right?
I am not. I just kind of like the value in the individual games. It's also just kind of fun to, when you're watching Red Zone and you're flipping through the games, to have that little thing to cheer about for each game. I like that aspect. The next one is Lamar Jackson at plus 180. And really the main thing is all of these big time games against the Bills and now against the Chiefs, and these games that feel like this might be for the 1 seed at the end of the season, he just seems to use his legs a lot more around the goal line. I like the Ravens to roll in the spot. I think they kind of need to prove they're not a 1-3 team. I think they're going to look good. I like Jackson to excel in the spot.
Yeah, I like Lamar as well in the spot. They've definitely got it. They can't go 1-3. Whichever one of these teams goes 1-3 is in just such a giant hole. And
Yeah.
I don't feel like the Ravens are a bad team. they just keep blowing their leads. And they have been more willing this year than last year to let Lamar run.
Yeah. And
So I like this.
even if they lose, I mean, they're averaging 40 points a game. So that gives you plenty of upside to get this touchdown easy.
This is true. All right, what's the last one?
All right, the next one, kind of a cop out because I got two names in there, but it's a similar role. I want to go back to these Vegas wide receivers against a man coverage defense. We saw what Trey Tucker did and him annihilating the Washington defense for 3 touchdowns last week. And now they're going against a Bears defense that is without their best corner and plays still a lot of man coverage. That opens the doors up, especially with Bowers limited, for their speed wide receivers, and that is Trey Tucker and Donte Thornton. Trey Tucker is a plus 210 touchdown, even though he scored 3 of them last week. And Donte Thornton is plus 340. I'm bringing up both names because Trey Tucker has a lot of the production, but as far as how they're being used in the offense, it's very similar. And Donte Thornton is getting those deeper routes. I think when you compare the air yards, so the yards that they're targeted on, Donte Thornton is about 258, and then Trey Tucker is like 250. They're getting these deeper targets against man coverage. And so I like this spot for either of them to score. You can play both of them and still get a positive value if one of them hits in this spot.
All right, I'm not sure that I'm on this. I tend to stay away from the touchdown bets. And when you start talking Trey Tucker and Donte Thornton, you kind of lose me.
Fair enough.
I've got plenty of options here to be betting, though. How about our parlay for this week? What are we going to do? I did want to mention, so we lost the ghost leg parlay, but DraftKings kind of has it. They've been talking a lot in their Discord, if you're in their Discord channel, about testing out different things. They got us sucked in with that ghost leg parlay the first couple weeks, and then in week 3, they made it where you had to earn it. So they're trying to get you to bet on Thursday night to earn that ghost leg parlay token on Sunday. And I guess it didn't go quite as they wanted in week 3 because you had to make a $20 bet on Thursday night. So this week in week 4, they've dropped that to a $10 bet to get a $5 same game parlay ghost leg on Sunday, or a $20 bet to get a $10 one on Sunday. But they've given us at least another option on Thursday night, so you don't have to bet $20.
Yeah, that is a good point. I'm glad they lowered it. I don't like putting that much on a same game parlay, but hopefully we won't need the ghost leg. We'll see if we can get all 3 of these picks this week.
Hopefully, but I'm gonna have the $5 token. I put a $10 bet down tonight.
Me too. I like the insurance, but the one we have today is a plus 493, so about 5 times your money if it hits. And it starts off with the game in Ireland, Aaron Rodgers under 202.5 passing yards. And the main reason for this is, one, how ugly he looked last week, and that passing attack. I think they had less than 140 yards passing. And then, especially in this first travel week to Europe, sometimes when teams stay for multiple weeks, it works better. But in that first game, we see a lot of unders and a lot of low-scoring games. People are waking up for these early games especially on the West Coast. I think it's like 6 a.m. or something. And you're seeing an ugly game if you're waking up for it a lot of times for these Europe games. And then it's just not a good matchup against a blitz-heavy Flores zone defense, which kind of goes against his wide receiver strengths. For like DK and Calvin Austin are both better against man than they are zone.
Yeah, I like the Aaron Rodgers under with everything that's going on here and going against that Vikings defense that just tore apart the Bengals last week. Okay, so that's our first leg.
That's our
Who's
first
up
leg. Next, we're going back to the Ravens and a Zay Flowers bounce back game. So over 4.5 receptions at a minus 136 for that leg. And I really just think that he's a critical part of this offense. This offense hums when he's involved. And he gets a lot of those targets that you can't really defend against. He gets those short area targets. So that's why I like his receptions, not betting his yards, because that's really dependent on what he does after the catch. But just getting the receptions for him getting back into flow with this offense.
They have to realize that not getting the ball to Zay Flowers is an issue. And I really thought that last week we were going to see more Zay Flowers, and we didn't. It was all Mark Andrews. And that's they're gonna keep losing if they don't get Flowers involved in this passing game. So
Yeah.
they have to. This has to be a focus for the Ravens this week is to get him involved. So I like this one.
Yeah, I think they'll go back in the tape room and realize that this was a mistake last week, and so
Yeah, it
they'll
makes me
fix it.
nervous because I thought they were gonna, do that last week and Zay Flowers was my touchdown scorer and didn't happen. What's the last leg?
So the last one, I was kind of scouring different markets that we don't normally go into, and I found a special teams bet for us with over 8.5 punts in the Tennessee Houston game. So over 8.5 punts. These are the 29th and 32nd teams as far as third down conversion rates. These teams love to punt. They also don't have aggressive coaches, too. It's not like Dan Campbell out there where it's like we're going for it on fourth down. Like they're like, all right, we're going to try to not make a mistake and try to put our defense, like try to give our defense an opportunity to keep us in this game, especially Houston. So when you look at punt totals already, I think they're both tied for third in the league. And if you combine them, they're averaging 9.3 punts per game. So we can easily clear this line, especially pitted together where they don't have pressure to score. It's a lot easier to not go
Yeah,
for it on fourth down if it's a 10-3 game.
this is true. I'm gonna say 8.5 punts actually doesn't seem like that many punts in a game. We're
Yeah.
talking 4 or 5.5, and you hit this. When I think of a defensive game, that doesn't seem like that big of a number.
Yeah. You're hoping that you never see this game on red zone, and then your bet will probably hit.
All right, I like it. Well, that's it for week 4. Tell us your favorite play in the comments and play smart, have fun, and we'll see you next time.